Hello! Let's begin our episode 6 recap and thoughts. Before anything else, I want to start by correcting one thing that I realized that I was getting wrong since episode 3. On the last recap and thoughts, I said that I was curious to know who the second body the cops found was. When the police discovers a second body and says that the person was killed in the same way as the first, my brain took that as meaning that they found a second victim of Tonkla. But actually, the second body is Tyro. They first find Dom, who Tyro beaten to death. And then they find Tyro, who Tonkla did the same thing too. Okay, now have done that, I've noticed that some people couldn't understand the main plot of the series yet, so I will explain it using what we already saw on this episode too. This is not my theory or what I think. The main plot, aka what is happening inside Great's mind, is explained by Dr. Dan and his patient Luqua in the series. It starts when Great is shot by Tonkla. He is taken to the hospital where his heart stops at 11. While he is unconscious, Great starts to relive his life inside his mind. However, he now has the ability to see 4 minutes into the future. This ability allows him to fix mistakes he had made before getting shot, like stopping to help Mani when he hit her with his car, stopping the killings of Dom and Nun, and more. He also changes other memories, like the way he meets Time, their date, their first time. He makes everything more romantic, I guess, for a lack of a better word, or less problematic than reality. He even makes their personalities softer. From episode 1 to 5, that's basically what we see. Great's mind reliving a portion of his life, painting it in a better light. There are scenes that were reality though, like Win and Tonkla scenes, or then with Luqua. All the while, Great keeps seeing his clock stuck on 11, then 11:1, 11:2, 11:3, until on episode 5, we see him getting shot and taken to the hospital. That's because his time is almost up. Meaning, the brain can only be without oxygen for 4 minutes. So when the heart stops, you have 4 minutes to start it again before the brain starts getting damaged for lack of oxygen and die. That's because the blood carries oxygen to the brain, and the blood is pumped through our whole bodies by the heart. So because Great's heart stopped at 11, the medical team has until 11:04 to save his life. On episode 6, we finally see reality. All the events that actually took place until the moment he got shot. Now let's have a look at what was revealed and the most drastic differences from what we saw previously and what reality was. We finally see what was Great's role in Dom's murder. He assisted in the disposal of the body, and no once thought about telling anyone about it. And the whole act was caught on camera. It is Tyro's own dash cam, but still, the video exists, and it is the most undisputable piece of evidence. In the same scene we have, the way Time discovers Great's full name is by hearing him say it while picking up medication, instead of reading it in a card after Great visits money in the hospital. The way they bump into each other is just normal, and because time was just frozen in place, and not the K-drama style with papers flying and all that eye contact. The way time approaches great is more sauteur. At a bar, just hookup style. Opposite to the more courting style. Showing up to just talk and get to know great without actual sexual advances. Speaking of which, their first time was a one-night stand. Turn it into sex tape, turning into a weapon against Great's dad. In Great's mind, he erased all of that and replayed their first time as a more romantic and tender moment of two people falling in love. Another change was the confrontation between Time and Great's dad, where before we saw it as being after Nan was rescued, with Great's dad going to Time's house and threatening his grandma. In reality, after releasing the sex tape, Time knew they would come after him, so he sent his grandma away and later was summoned into Great's dad's office. Plus, now Great's dad accused Time's parents of being the ones who started the gambling business. Great in Time going on a date/dinner that was previously very cute and prompted by Time. In reality, it was Great going after Time, even after what he had done, and them just eating at a street food place. We see what happens after Nan is killed, which is Great rescuing Time from his father's men and the two fighting. Then of course we see how Great ends up in the hospital in the first place, which is getting shot by Tonkla. There were some small changes that I think could show something big. The scene where we see Korn cleaning bloody hands, which could be showing his true personality and what he's actually capable of. Instead of Money being the one watching the news about the gambling scandal, is Fasai's father, which made me think, could he have turned it against his once partner and provided the evidence of the gambling business existence? Great, pulling Time's mask off instead of Time revealing himself to Great. I think that revealing himself shows a level of trust from Time in Great that in reality he doesn't have. Therefore, he wouldn't take his mask off willingly. That leads me into talking about Great as a character. When you look at the differences between reality and what Great made up in his mind, one thing is clear: how much he craves for love, acceptance, and understanding. He created moments where Time will listen to him, his story, his feelings, moments where Time was falling for him, trusting him. He made up so that Time was the one rescuing him and fighting to protect him, instead of him being the one rescuing Time with just one word because he was the boss son. He imagined their first time being sweet and Time being gentle with him, which is something that I've noticed in this episode's sex scene. When Time touched Great's face, his reaction was like he wasn't used to being touched gently. Everything was imagined so that he received from Time the love and affection he misses so much in his real life. But one of the most interesting changes for me was in the characters' personalities or vibes. As soon as I saw Great laugh at the dinner table, I was like, Fuck yeah. I'm about to see actors act today. And Bible and Jazz delivered 100%. My cute grade was now this sassy brat. This sometimes awkward and shy time was now cold and calculating. And I love it to see it. There is one thing I still wish they explained it better, and that is why Great had 4 minutes moments in events that didn't actually happen. Example: the 4 minutes jump that happens when he goes to see Mani in the hospital. First, he goes into the room and then he doesn't. Why he sees the future and changes that if nothing like that ever happened in reality? Did he just not like how the first scenario he invented went and change it? Another thing is why he sees two different messages in the cup time gives to him if time never went to his school. What is that? Can you forgive me, Great? Is that just what he wanted to hear from time at the time? I wish I had a concrete answer for that. Now let's talk about theories and what comes next. If you're following my previous recapping thoughts, you know that I thought about the possibility of parallel universes, and that the only reason I still believe in it was Tonklas sensing slash hearing his cat and brother, both already dead in his reality. And what about now? While I still believe that anything's possible, seeing how Tonkla is smiled after shooting Great really dawned on me just how bad his mental state is. Tonkla is a character that suffered from his father's abuse, had his cat killed, probably by said father, and then had his brother brutally killed. That's a lot of trauma. Plus, he uses drugs as a coping mechanism. So, a more real and plausible explanation is just him having hallucinations due to trauma, stress, drugs, or any other kind of medical condition. So, what's next? Well, from what we saw previously, they still have to tell how time was shot and how Luqua meets Great in their subconscious. Plus, of course, if Great's going to leave, if Time's going to leave, what is going to happen with Tonkla. That is one thing that I like to get on record, just in case I'm right. I think that is a possibility that Time will also have a cardiac arrest and experience what Great did. Maybe not the seeing 4 minutes into the future part, but I think that some changes that were made supposedly inside Great's mind makes more sense if actually we were seeing into Time's mind, like Time's confrontation with Great's dad. What we saw before was Great's dad being the ultimate villain, going to Time's house, terrifying his grandma, and no mention of his parents' involvement in the gambling business. In reality, less terrifying moment and the possibility of his parents not being as innocent as he thought. This change doesn't affect Great, but it would mean everything to Time if his parents were not actually criminals too. And that's it for me. I really like it this episode. If a show can surprise me, if I go, what? Like, I did not expect that, then that for me is a awesome show. I love when a show surprises me. I love a good plot twist. I love a good unexpected moment. So I was all in for everything that happened because it was so unexpected. And it really was because I wasn't expecting them to change so much. Like, for instance, I was talking about before, like, I thought that maybe money wasn't actually dead because there might be a plot hole. Because I thought they would follow the hospital scene where Great visits her and all of that. But no, they changed that completely, and I was not expecting such a drastic change in the storyline. So, yeah, love this episode. Can't wait to see you. We have only 2 episodes to go, but they still can do a lot in just 2 episodes. So, let's see what's going to happen next. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my thoughts. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.